Have you just purchased the brand new Simba and Meg single player deck for Whispers in the Well and you want to make it that little bit better? Let's have a look at the deck, let's make it better, let's go with this episode of XMarksTheLore. Howdy hi ladies and gents, I'm the Expert. Welcome to XMarksTheLore, where we have a look at your decks in order to try and make them the best decks on the Azurite Sea. And today's episode, just like the previous one, is brought to us by Ravensburger, that were kind enough to send me both copies of the single player decks that you can now get a hold of for Whispers in the Well. Thank you very much to Ravensburger. Now today's one, we're focusing on the Amber Emerald one featuring Simba and Meg, both of these cards being Whisper cards, which hold the new boost mechanic in the game. So this starter deck is more so focused on the boost mechanic itself and pushing it to the nth degree. If you're interested in the list, let's have a look at it. And here we are. I've imported the list over to Dreamborn so you can have a look at it for yourself. And it's very early game heavy rather than mid game to late game heavy. Quite a lot of inkable cards as well and not a lot of uninkables. But you do have a nice variety of things going on. But when I say you have a nice variety of things going on, you'll probably see it when we play the game. When they say variety is the spice of life, when it comes to card games, variety could be the thing that actually stumbles you instead of helps you. You may know from my previous video that I said that the Sapphire and Steel player deck was a very good deck to play with. This one, however, as much as it has some really quirky cards in there, very hard to recommend in comparison. But don't take my word for it, don't take the list for it on face value. Let's go in with a game and test it out. Okie doke, so we're back here on Ink Table, testing the deck against itself, because at least if I lose, you can see how it works for the AI. Starting hand is not looking great. We don't even have a single 1-drop in our hand, which is a bit devastating, and our only 2-drop is a Blessed Bagpipes, which is bad, unless we have a Whisper card we can play into. So I think we do the very best thing I could do here. But I'm going to do a really big mulligan in hopes I can get the 1-drop. But I am going to keep a Meg in my hand because I'm going to hopefully play that Meg as our turn 3 play. So that should be quite good. This is a better hand. I'll take it. It is a much better hand. So with that, we're going to Ink Chomp because we're not going to use that early on. And we'll play our Big Nose for our first 1-drop vanilla. They play Higgins. Higgins is cool, but we're not too worried about the Higgy. We will ink our second Flotsam and we will play out Blue. So we have another big boy and quest with Big Nose. Quest with Higgins and play Della's Moon Lullaby, which I quite like as a card. So chosen opposing character gets -2 attack to the start of your next turn and you draw a card. This can be very handy. It's a very good card. We do have it in our hand already as well, which we can sing with Blue, which I'm kind of tempted to do just to shut down Higgins just in case. But it does stop us from questing if that's the case. We do get another Whisper, which I quite like actually, the 1-drop Flynn Rider, but we are on curve to get out Meg. So which of these has the best stat block? The Vanilla Bagheera, which I like how it rolls off the tongue. So X going to ink the other Flotsam, and before we play Vanilla Bagheera, we will take advantage and play Meg. So Meg, one of the featured characters on the player deck. She's a free cost inkable 3/4 for 1 with boost 1, and while there's a card under this character, she gets +1 lore and gains whenever this character is challenged, each opponent chooses and discards a card. Really handy to have. She'll be able to quest for 2, which is fantastic for our board, and we should be able to go from there. So what I'm also going to do to help us out with our card draws, we're going to sing Della's Moon Lullaby with Blue, just so we can draw a card and we can shaft Higgins, so Higgins can't do a lot. We do get Munchings and Crunchlings, which can remove damage from chosen characters, can be handy. So we will take this moment to quest for Big Nose for the big 2, and we're good to go for next turn. Okay, so our opponent doesn't do a lot on their turn, we just play out a Blue. We have a really nice stake going on, and as much as I kept the Vanilla Bagheera, I might have a slightly better option to go with here. Tempted to do a thing, and I'm going to go with the Temptations. We're going to ink our third Flotsam, and when I do, we're now going to play our Flynn Rider. And what we're going to do, we're actually going to use the card abilities and we're going to boost both of them. we boost Meg, and we boost Flynn. So now Flynn, when he's boosted, well, there's a card under this character, he gets +2 attack and +1 lore. So Flynn is big. Meg now forces our opponent to discard cards whenever she's challenged, which means if we quest with absolutely everybody, we're not just in a very good standing to keep going, but now we have quite a nice little bit of lore on our side. We can quest for 6 now, we quest for even more next turn, and we are in the lead. Forces our opponent to get something done. So we're going to challenge into Big Nose with Higgins, probably challenge again with Baloo, which means you're not questing, you have to deal with my board now, which is good for me, bad for them. And depending on next turn, I'll either play out Munchings and Crunchings or play out Bagheera, and I'm more tempted to play out Bagheera because we don't have a lot of damage on our side of the board yet. There's Mrs. Beakley, and I'm not worried about my bodyguard. Do we get our bodyguard? We actually do! This is perfect. Okay, so what we'll do... This is a little bit interesting now, because I could play out Munchings and Crunchings and keep Mrs. Beakley out to keep her big, which is an interesting idea, which I'm tempted to. That's 2, 4, 6 on the board, which could help. You know what? We're going to do it this way. Let's ink Munchings and Crunchings. Let's play out Mrs. Beakley just so we have a bodyguard, and set her up as bodyguard as well. Then we'll quest with absolutely everybody. So we get 1 with Baloo, we'll get 2 with Meg, and 2 with Flynn Rider, taking us to 11. And now they have to get through Mrs. Beakley in order to tackle Meg or Flynn, which is going to be a tough one for them. They're already questing with Higgins, probably questing with Baloo and Mrs. Beakley as well, so we're in a very good state. And if Mrs. Beakley stays out to just be our bodyguard, we are going to be in a very good state. Our opponent is miles behind. We've managed to have some brilliant card draw. There's Elamwi, and Elamwi does have support, can be a little bit pesky, but again, we do have Mrs. Beakley. They also have their Munchings and Crunchings out, and they have their Whisper Gaston. Now, I really like the Whisper Gaston, and allow me to share with you what he does. So the Whisper Gaston, the Frightful Bully, 3/3, 2 cost Uninkable in Amber, boost 2, quest for 1, and top back. Whenever this character quests, if there's a card under him, chosen opposing character can't challenge and must quest if able during their turn. So it shuts down your ability to be able to challenge, which is scary, but again, we're in the lead. We've actually got quite a nice little mini aggro game going on, and we're ahead of ourselves, so we're not too concerned. Now, what I can do here, we also have Blessed Bagpipes. These guys are already boosted and don't get any more of a support with boost, which is a bit of a waste. But whenever one of our counters or location with a card under is challenged, we do get 1 lore, so that can now benefit us having Flynn and Meg out. So what we're going to do, we're going to play our Vanilla Bagheera, and we're going to play Bagpipes. When we play Bagpipes, we will put the top card underneath one of the cards. Might as well just put it under Meg, why not? And again, we're just going to quest with absolutely everybody. Because now if they do challenge into Meg, or do challenge into Flynn, we get 1 lore just from that alone. And now we're all the way up to 17. We're gonna win next turn. Our opponent has to make some really big plays, or we just win. So the deck is mostly focused on aggro. But I do still think that it's a little bit all over the place, because as much as it has some aggro plays, it's got a little bit of control, it's got a little bit of tempo, it's got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. A little bit of Monica on my side, a little bit of Tila. No, not that song reference. I don't know, there's elements of the deck I really like. But there's elements of the deck that I think are a little bit all over the place. And as much as I even like Penumbra, which is one of the rare cards you get in the deck, she's an amazing 5 cost uninkable 7/6 for 2. She's great. Why in this deck? I don't quite get it why in this deck, but not to crap on her. I think she's a brilliant card. We get our own Gaston, but guess what? We're not too worried. We're just going to quest with absolutely everybody and win the game. The deck's fine. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the deck. It's got a little bit too much going on. It's a little bit too all over the place. And its game plan is a little bit straightforward because you want to keep questing, but it doesn't have a lot of big aggro players, at least early on. So you either get your aggro plays or you don't. And if you don't, like what our opponent did, they got shafted, we were able to quest for game quite early on in comparison. Let's have a look and see what I would do to improve. The deck testing done, what do we do to improve with the Amber Emerald deck? Well, we have our deck list here, and it is a little bit all over the place. So, let's refine it a little bit. If we like the look of the aggro plays, especially when it comes to using the likes of Megara and Flynn Rider on turn 1, let's try and push those aggro plays and maybe add in some more interesting late game plays if we ever get to that point, if we just have bad mulligans or just bad draws in general. So, I give you my version of a deck, which I like to call Amber Emerald Gimme a Boost. And as you can tell, just by the differences alone, it does keep the low cost quite high. It keeps the game plan of what the deck's trying to do as accurate as it possibly can. It just refines it a little bit, simmers it down, maybe just sands those edges that little bit to refine it. So what have we done? We've added in an aggro package to make it a lot more devastating. You can already tell how devastating it is, because for budget, it's through the roof. It goes up to $100. Don't be put off. If you have these cards, go for it. If you don't have these cards, at least you know I've had to go hard to make this deck better. So, we do have the Daisy 1-drop and the Cursed Merfolk 1-drop to really push our early game aggro plays, joining alongside the Flynn Rider so we can boost him later on to make him a threat. Also, we got 2 copies of the Whisper Gaston, because we don't want to see him all the time. He only quests for 1. We do need to boost him in order to take full advantage of his effect, but if we do have a play where we're aggro and we're versus another aggro deck, or versus a deck that can easily get rid of our aggro plays, this now forces their counter plays to quest instead of challenge us, which can save us from a bad time. We're also running 4 copies of Jim Deer, a cheap, easy to get out bodyguard that'll just help defend against those cheeky strong plays. We've got a couple of copies of Coda, because why not? We might as well quest for more while we're on our 2-drops. And we also have our 4 copies of Lilo Escape Artist, because quite frankly, she's a fantastic aggro piece in Amber, simple as. And we're also running 4 copies of the brand new Scrooge McDuck Shush Agent. He's a 0-2 for 2 with backup plan. When you play this character, draw a card, then choose and discard a card, which can help us out. And on the move, whenever this character is challenged, return this card to your hand. No damage is dealt in that challenge, so it can be a very handy card, bounce back into our hand after we quest it for 2, and can help with our game plan to win big. It's great. Also, to help us with our game plan, 4 copies of Lady Family Dog. We have a ton of targets for Lady to hit, and quite frankly, if we get Lady out with one of our aggro plays, we are eating good today. Let's go a couple of copies of Louis, because when Louis is challenged, our challenging opponent gets -1 attack, which can keep Louis alive for longer. And we've also got 3 copies of Tiana Restaurant Owner, and this is probably why the budget of the deck blows up a little bit, because quite frankly, we're aggro, we're Amber, you chuck in Tiana as a free drop, now our opponent has to pay more to get rid of our stuff. But we didn't want to get rid of Meg, because Meg and Simba are core parts of the deck, so we've still kept them in. We've maybe just finagled their numbers around. Now Meg's a free drop, we want to take advantage of her tech, because she's only a boost 1, so we brought Meg all the way up to 4 to fully take advantage of her tech. I've also added in a few copies of Jock, because just in case we do have the right board state, when we play this character, we have 3 or more characters on the board, we just gain 2 lore, we can just use him as a goat the game tactic, which can just help us out. And we also have 2 copies of Scrooge McDuck the Cavern Prospector. The reason why we put him in is because whenever we play a character or location with boost, we may put the top card of our deck face down under them, which immediately boosts our characters, which means that Gaston is ready to go when he's ready to quest. Same with Flynn Rider, same with Meg, and same with Simba. It channels all the boost characters as soon as they come out on the board, which is way better than having to get them out on board and boost them later on. But we've only got 2 copies, because we don't want to see him all the time. We want to more so focus on our early game aggro plans, but just in case we get up to 6, we can put him out. And of course, I did want to make sure we put in the Simba. He's a core part of the player deck. I did not want to alienate him for this build. So we've only got 2 copies of him, but again, we get him out, he quests for free, he can bring our characters out for free, potentially exerted, which is very, very good. big board threat. Love it to pieces. We've also got 4 copies of Good Job, because quite frankly, if we're questing for big, we might as well quest even bigger. 4 copies of So Much to Give, because now any of our guys can become bodyguards, which is also very handy for Blessed Bagpipes, because now we put Blessed Bagpipes out, boost one of our characters with a card under them can quest, and then we make them bodyguards, so when they get challenged, we get lore anyway. A little bit of cheeky tech there to help us out. It's a nice little tech piece, a little bit of card draw, because we are aggro. We're going to kind of sacrifice the card draw to mainly go for our early game aggro plays, but this is way more speedy. I love this a little bit more because it has a more direct idea of what it wants to do. Can it fulfill what I require? Let's have a look at our follow-up game test. Let's go. Now, in comparison to changing with the original version of the deck, I'm looking forward to testing this one out more just because of its potential. Look at that start. That is a really nice start on our side. I'm actually going to put back Simba and maybe put back So Much to Give. Simply because we don't necessarily need it this early on, and I think we could potentially mulligan into something bigger. Let's go. Let's see. We do get Bagpipes and Tiana. We're on it. We're on it like a carb on it. This is fantastic. So I think we have a game plan, and I think our early game plan does not involve Flynn Rider, unless that's a great gym deer to see, actually. So what we're going to do early on, I like the idea of Coda on turn 2, but we do also have Lilo. So we have a lot of options here. So we're going to ink Flynn. When we ink Flynn, we play Daisy, set ourselves up. It will give our opponents cards, potentially, but we have our big aggro play, and we can immediately start questing big right off the bat. Next turn, I reckon we put out Lilo, and when we put out Lilo, then we can just keep questing for 2, bringing Lilo back at the start of our turns. Very handy stuff. We do get into our big Scrooge. It's a little bit too early, so we'll choose to ink him instead. Play out the Lilo, and when we play out Lilo, we will quest with Daisy, so we can immediately start questing. And when we do start questing, Daisy effect gives him a Mrs. Beakley. Not too concerned. That's absolutely okay. And I think next turn we actually go for Tiana. Because if we can set up Tiana, we can then set up a really good game plan of stopping our opponents from being able to do some very cheeky stuff, which is only beneficial for us. Now, Tiana has to be on the board and has to be exerted in order for us to take full advantage of her tech. So with that in mind, we do need to finagle a little bit. We also get the 2-drop Scrooge, and that's great. We don't benefit from Bagpipes, so let's ink Bagpipes, and let's play out Tiana. Now, when we play out Tiana, I could quest with Lilo and Daisy to help boost our board a little bit. And do I do it? I'm actually not. We're going to pass our turn. And I have a reason why. Next turn, we can either play out 2 2-drops, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to consider putting out Jim Deer as our bodyguard and then quest with everybody. Not just do we then quest for some pretty nice lore, we also have Tiana exerted, we have a lot of things going on. Actually, I might do one better. We might actually try, if I get another uninkable, or so I say if we do get an inkable card, I'll ink that, play out Jim Deer, and play out Coda or play out Scrooge, and then play Good Job to give us even more lore gain. You know what? That's fine. Ink for Flynn Rider, and let's give this a try, right? Let's give this a try. So we're going to put out Jim Deer, set him up as a bodyguard. We'll play out Good Job. We'll put Good Job onto Tiana, and we'll quest with everybody. So this now means we go to 4. Daisy effect will trigger. Our opponent gets a hook hand, which is a little bit scary. They get that on the next turn, but we'll see how that goes. Get an extra 2 with Lilo. We get an extra 2 with Tiana. Now our opponent needs to pay 3 ink in order to attack. Now this is bearing in mind our opponent does have a lot of lore that they can gain because they just have a lot of characters on board. They may not even worry about tackling into us. They may just keep questing until the cows come home. But we know what whispers they run to help with their aggro plans. They don't have a lot of them. Most of their aggro is either very early on or on their big 5-6 drops. So we're actually in a pretty good state. Our opponent's just deciding to quest with everybody anyway. I don't think they're threatened by us. And quite frankly, we need to do the chasing. There's Hook Hand, costs them all of it just to get Hook Hand out. But look at what we can potentially do. We get another Bagpipe. That's fine. We're going to ink Bagpipe. And we're just going to play out both of our cards here. Do we Scrooge? Screw it. Let's Scrooge. And we get a So Much to Give, which I'm not worried about because we have Jim Deere. So we'll just play out Coda. Now we basically claim what we want for the game. Quest for Daisy, give him a trigger, give him Higgins. Higgins is absolutely fine, you can have that. Quest for 2 with Lilo to 13. Quest for 2 with Tiana for 15. Quest with 1 for Jim Deere for 16. We have game on board. They have 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 on board. So they don't win, we win. Unless they do something crazy. But I do not think their deck has the capacity to win this turn, which means even though we had a little bit of a gamble by not questing on the turn that we played Tiana, that little bit of a gamble may have just gone a very long way for us to be able to effectively win the game, which is fantastic. And I don't think you have anything in your hand to actually win the game. No, there's Baloo. You got anything else? There's Higgins. You got anything else? There's Duckburg. And I think that's it. Yes, our opponent has nothing else to do. They may sit on 19, but we sit. Big win. Might as well play out the Tiana. And look at that. Big aggro, big plays, big win, big risk. Do not get me wrong, big risk. But aggro's a risk-reward strat anyway. And that is how we do it. Questing with absolutely everybody to finish the game on a real big number of 27 lore. Very nice. It's an aggro deck. It's going to be risky. But if you like your risk-reward strategies, go all in with it. Go aggro. I really like what I've done to change the build. And as you saw, we didn't see a lot of our Whisper cards come out, but that's not a bad thing. Because at least our aggro game plan was so strong, we were able to hold the fort and quest for so much faster than our opponent was able to. It was fantastic from us. Let's have a review. So in comparison to the Sapphire Steel deck, I do not think this is the better of the two. I do think there is some very quirky options in here, especially if you want some very quirky potential aggro style gameplay. Though I wouldn't sleep on the Flynn Rider. I quite like the Meg. I quite like the Gaston. If you want some Whispers for a Whisper based deck, I think the Simba may just be a little bit high costed to build around unless you want to add some cards for cost mitigation. Better options for Duckburg personally, like the 2-drop Huey or the 1-drop Pluto or even 2-drop Lantern that's still in rotation as well. But there are many ways you can take this deck and build it. I just took it down an aggro route. You can take it down a cost mitigation route to get your bigger plays out. There's many ways you can build it, but because of how diverse you can potentially make this deck, it's not as much of a recommendation as the Sapphire and Steel one. You need a lot more work to make this bad guy go brr, at least in my personal opinion. I would only recommend this if you very specifically want the Whisper cards that come with it. Outside of that, I would more so recommend the Sapphire Steel one over this, but it's okay if you specifically want that game plan. But with that being said, folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the time here on XMarksTheLore. And last but not least, shout out to Ravensburger yet again for supplying the single player decks you saw in this video and my previous one. Much obliged. Thank you very much. Now, be sure to tell me your thoughts about this player deck and the other player decks, not just in this set, but in all the sets of Lorcana so far, down in the comments below, because you could show up in my next video. Because for next video, I'm going to be talking about the player decks in general, and talking about what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and a little bit of criticism talking about the player decks moving forward, not in a bad way for Ravensburger, but more so in a constructive way, just to give my 2 cents on, hopefully, how we can make them a little bit better and a little bit more incentivizing into later sets. If you did enjoy this video and you want to see some more deck analysis and deck help. Remember, XMarksTheLore is a show for you, where I normally cover your decks. These are only special edition episodes because Ravensburger did send me products. So if you want your deck to be shown on XMarksTheLore, be sure to send me your deck to xmarksTheLore@gmail.com. That's xmarksTheLore@gmail.com. Send in your deck lists, send in your philosophies, send in your game stories, send in your voice notes, your videos, and you can be participating in a video in the near future. Be sure to hit me up on my social links as well as the Discord server for some more explosive Lorcana action. And I'll be seeing you next time for another deck analysis to have a look to see whether your deck is the next best deck to play on the Azurite Sea. Until next time, folks, set sails, weigh anchor, and I'll be seeing you out there on the Azurite Sea. Oh, I'm really loving this show, and I hope you do too. It's a fun time. See you next time.